All right, who out there wants to absolutely kill it in fantasy football here in 2019? I do too, and there's a few mistakes that continually are made every single year by people. How do we make sure we don't make those same mistakes? We identify what they are, we talk about them, and we plan for our fantasy football drafts a little better. If you're looking forward to dominating fantasy football in 2019, hit the like button now, because I got a few mistakes you don't want to make. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there. Today we're talking about some big mistakes for fantasy football. And it doesn't matter if you've played for decades, for years. Maybe this is your first year playing fantasy football. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. Some of us are still making some mistakes out there, and we're going to cover some of the mistakes that are most common, leading up to your draft, during your draft, start of your season. There's a ton of them out there, and we'll get into more as we get later here into the preseason, closer to the season. Really start honing in on some of these things so we don't make these mistakes this year for fantasy football. Real quick, before we get into this list, make sure you go check out our website. It's right there at the top of your screen, thefantasyheadliners.com. Tons of great information and articles over there to take a look at, and also our draft guide is on sale. Don't want to miss out on that. Putting a ton of work, lots of content to help you dominate at fantasy football here today. So go check out the website. Now, let's talk about a few of the biggest mistakes we want to avoid in 2019. Number one up on the list, it's avoiding expert advice. Really have to watch when people call themselves experts. Why? Because none of us are experts. Last time I checked, we couldn't see the future. Not once have I ever referred to myself as an expert. I'm an analyst. I analyze data, I research, and then I share it with you to help your decisions be a little bit easier. If you're out there watching other channels, reading other articles, websites, whatever it may be, and somebody is trying to sell themselves to you, tell you how great they are, how great they were last year, that you need to do what they're saying because they have all the secrets and all the answers, first of all, I call BS. Second of all, that's like the equivalent to like a used car salesman wrapping a dog turd in Christmas paper, giving it to you, and you being happy about it. If anybody has to sell themselves to you, that should be an immediate red flag. The work speaks for itself, not the mouth. So if you're out there and you're seeing a bunch of advice, be careful what it is you take. Nobody should be telling you what to do. They should be presenting you with information that helps make your decision easier. That's what I did all last season on this channel, and not once have I ever told anybody to do anything. I give my opinions, I support them with data, and then you make that final decision. In the long run, it's going to be you that has to determine who you start, who you sit, who you draft, who you avoid. That's your responsibility. We're just here to try to make that responsibility a little bit easier. So number one on the list, it's avoiding expert advice. Number two is knowing your league's scoring rules. You kind of need to pay attention to that beforehand. Those are very important. You want to know what type of points your players are going to get. Does your quarterback get 4 points per touchdown pass? Do they get 6 touchdown points per pass? Because if it's 6, they'll have more value, all those higher touchdown throwing quarterbacks. Is it PPR? Is it standard? If it's standard, you want to make sure you load up with your running backs because the wide receiver groups have less value because they're not being credited for their actual receptions. There's tons of things out there that you need to pay attention to. So many leagues now have such different scoring. There's tight end premium leagues out there that actually give bonus points to tight ends. All kinds of things. Make sure you're going on your league homepage. You're going to the scoring, settings page, and understanding what the scoring is before the draft. Don't look at it week one and make your decisions then because you've already drafted and it may be too late. Know those going in. That will be absolutely critical to making sure you're drafting the right players. Big mistake number 3 is going to be drafting positions and not names. I talk to a lot of people out there, and a lot of people still do this. They go into their draft with a plan, which is great. You should. They plan on heavy running back, heavy wide receiver, waiting on quarterback, whatever it may be. You should have a plan like that, but you should also be prepared to change said plan because very rarely do fantasy football drafts go according to your plans. Don't lock yourselves into a specific position, especially in the early rounds. There may be a stud that falls at a position you weren't really expecting to fall. You need to be there and grab them, not letting them continue to slide just because you need to lock into a different position. If your league mates hand you a stud on a silver platter, take him, draft him, thank your league mates, and move on. Adjust your game plan from that point going forward. Don't pass up on huge talent just because they may be the wrong position that you're looking for. Big mistake number 4 is going to be worrying about bye weeks, and I get it. In almost every draft room, the bye week is right there next to the player. It's like they want you to really pay attention to it. But you really, really shouldn't. They don't really matter. One of the biggest mistakes out there is drafting around bye weeks. Would you really want to sacrifice passing on an elite talent just because of the same bye week as another player on your roster? No, you don't. Why is that? I'll gladly sacrifice one really bad week because I'm not going to have very many of my starters with the possibility of winning the other 10, 11, 12, 13 weeks, however many weeks are in your fantasy football season. I want to win games. I want to win a lot of games, and I'm not going to pass off on elite players just because of their bye week. It's there, it's staring you in the face, but just try to block it out the best you can. Number 5 is going to be name value over real value. And this one really depends on how closely you follow football in the offseason. Whether you're a diehard that follows it 12 months a year, whether you pick it up in June, July, August, do a little bit of prep right before your draft. It doesn't really matter. But don't get caught up on name value. Sometimes you can see some names on your draft board and you recognize the name and you remember past, performances. That does not mean anything. Let's say Michael Crabtree is available and you're like, man, he scores a lot. He's a big red zone target. And you're right. He is. The problem, he's not on a team right now. That's the type of stuff you need to know about. Demaryius Thomas, he's put up some good numbers in the past. Yeah, well, his Achilles snapped like it's an old, brittle rubber band. Is he even going to play? There's so many different things you need to pay attention to. Don't get caught up with the big names. Some of the big names are farther down the draft board for a reason. Pay attention to them. Don't just think it's a surprise waiting for you in the middle to late rounds of your fantasy football drafts. Number 6 is a big one. Don't overpay for rookie hype. It happens every single year. Everybody's trying to find the next great thing, the next big fantasy football stud. Right now, we're all watching rookie mini camps, and we're starting to oh man, this guy's going to be great with this opportunity. And we end up overpaying on draft day based off of hype alone. Pay attention to the situation they're in. Are they even going to get an opportunity early in the year? If that opportunity is not solidified, guaranteed by draft day, and you're just hoping for something, you need to pass and hold off to the later rounds. I'm not saying you don't take rookies, but if there is no surefire rookie there that is an absolute, starter week 1, don't draft him in the middle rounds when you're needing to draft somebody that you need to rely upon on a weekly basis. Wait till the later rounds. Take a few flyers on a few high upside rookies if you want. Just don't draft them and have an immediate, thought that you're going to count on them week 1. So many things can change, and rookies, sometimes get so overhyped right here around the draft time that people tend to overpay depending on when their fantasy football draft is. Number 7 is another one. This is kind of a pet peeve. It's a kicker. Take them in the last round. I don't care who they are. I don't care if it's Steven Gostkowski, Justin Tucker, Greg Zuerlein. I don't care. Just give me somebody with a pulse and a leg, and I'll take them in the last round, and I'll take my chances with them. Don't pass up on value earlier in the draft. Stockpile those running backs and wide receivers. I don't care about a kicker. I don't care where he plays. I'm not taking one until the very, very last round. Also, another tip. Sometimes, depending when my draft is, I don't even draft a kicker. I'll draft somebody else who has a chance to win a big job in the preseason, and then I'll just worry about picking up a kicker right before week 1. By that time, you'll have somebody on your roster, more than likely that you'll be able to drop to pick one up. But you never know. You may pick up some of these names late in drafts. They turn out to be something, and then you can just drop somebody else with less value on your bench. Pay attention to it. Just don't ever overpay on a kicker. Number 8's a big one right after your draft. Maybe you've played a week or two, and maybe you've lost. Maybe they've been close games. Maybe you've been blown out. Maybe some of your studs just haven't really produced as of yet. Don't go out there and blow up your team after 2 weeks. start trading everybody, cutting everybody, picking people off of waivers who've had a good game. Give it time. These guys are all studs. We base a lot of this ADP and stuff off of consistency. Yes, there may be a bad week or two, and it's really bad luck when it happens right at the beginning of the season. But trust your studs. Trust your team, trust your research, and give them more time. If by week 5, 6, things still aren't going good, then it's time to start making some of those decisions. But definitely don't be going in there week 1, week 2, and blowing up your team because all of a sudden you think the sky is falling because you have a losing streak of 2. All right, those are a few of the biggest mistakes here for fantasy football leading up to our drafts in the draft starting of the season. And there's a lot more, and we're going to continue to go over these as the offseason progresses. But I want to start to get your mind thinking. It's the middle of May almost. Drafts are going to be right around the corner. If you're sick of losing, if you want to continue to dominate, these are the type of mistakes we need to avoid. I greatly appreciate you guys' support out there. If you have other big mistakes that you've kind of picked up over the years and you've kind of identified, hit them up down below in the comment section. I'll maybe share some of your comments on future videos. Would love to interact with you guys and go back and forth. It's one of the biggest things we do here is interact with the community, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys more and more. So hit me up down there. Follow me on Twitter at Fantasy Headliners, at FNTSY Headliners. We're giving away an autographed Juju Smith-Schuster jersey. It's the pinned tweet right now on my Twitter. Go to my Twitter, follow a few short steps, enter yourselves in to win that jersey for free. We'll be announcing a winner May 31st. Looking forward to doing that. Also, check out the website. Let us know what you think about it. Looking forward to talking to you guys. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you later.